Cheap by Ann Butler. Where's the wine? I told you to get the wine. Sandra halted in the doorway, mid-step, a heavy metal tray hanging from an arm, trembling with fatigue. She just brought in and set out the last of the hors d'oeuvres for a private event. She closed her eyes for 2 beats before she turned to face Derek, the owner-manager who'd hired her catering company. Why are you still here? Sandra shook her head in frustration and twirled sharply, striding towards the door. What's this? Paused her in the doorway once again. I will be professional. I will be professional. She turned back to face him. What's what? He gestured at the food on the buffet table. This. His arms windmilled. This stuff. Sandra's head spun, trying to keep up with him. Her eyes skimmed the food she'd laid out, shifting the heavy tray to her other arm. The food? This isn't what I ordered. He lifted and sniffed one of the platters. You chose the option which includes those. There's soft cheese and salmon pastry knots. Shit, he's going to want to taste them. Her mind raced through her to-do list and what she could ditch to make up the time it would take to bake replacements. His face fell. Oh, I thought they'd look different. She breathed out slowly when he eased the hors d'oeuvres back onto the table, unsampled. Perhaps now she could get back to preparing. And what about Derek? Then she pulled herself back. She must not lose control with a client. She started again. I know you're anxious about today, but you have to... Did we become friends in the last 10 minutes? His head was cocked. A fake smile curved his thin lips. Sandra shut up and adjusted the tray again. Just get on with what I hired you to do. Bring the wine so I can taste it before my guests get here. God, why the hell did I hire a startup? Serves me right. Sandra's face darkened with an angry flush. The effort it took to ignore his snide comment rendered her frame rigid. She pivoted and stomped off to the kitchen. Serves you right for hiring a startup? More like serves you right for being cheap. She thought this even as she thanked her lucky stars for the chance. Derek's company recently made over an empty business unit into swanky function rooms. Situated in spitting distance of the city of Manchester, it stood a good chance of success, especially if this, his first event, got good reviews. The day was made more stressful because Sandra's business partner had let her down, leaving her short-handed. She stashed the tray on a shelf on her way to the wine cooler. She grabbed a bottle of rosé, a wine glass, and a pristine white napkin. She gave brief instructions to the helper who was tweaking the floral arrangements, and then headed back to Derek. Took your time, he sniped, looking up from his phone, which he slotted into his back pocket. His movements stiff, he reached for the bottle. I'll do it. Hiding the label and keeping the bottle out of reach, she handed him the glass. Fuck's sake, he huffed, but took the glass while Sandra twisted the cap and poured a taste. She watched his face contort around the mouthful and held her breath when his eyes closed. He swallowed and smacked his lips. A smile formed, and he opened his eyes. When he held his hand out for the bottle, she let him take it. She held her breath as he examined the label, then looked back at her. She released that breath when his smile grew. The cheap sod doesn't even remember what he ordered. Yes. Good choice. He paced away, then paced the width of the room, still nodding, glass in one hand, bottle hanging from the other, rolling his shoulders. The helper came in and efficiently positioned the centerpiece. Derek paused in front of it and cocked his head to the side. The phone buzzed in his back pocket. He jumped. Sandra rushed to relieve him of the glass and bottle. They're here. I'll go and greet them. Get ready to serve. Sandra allowed herself to smile as she strode back to the kitchen. She just might get away with this. Derek was a right cheapskate. He'd hide her because he thought he'd get away with stunts established companies wouldn't tolerate. She knew this because he'd accidentally included her on a group chat where he boasted that he'd got the startup to pay for the wine and that it would save him a bundle. She'd read the backslapping responses with growing anger. She agreed to absorb the cost, although it wasn't in her standard contract, because she wanted the gig. The cost of the wine meant she wouldn't even break even. She could have backed out after the group chat leak, but Derek wouldn't take kindly to that and would create a stink around her name. So she plotted. What could she do to make enough money to cover all her costs? Or failing that, how could she get back at him? Taking advantage of the fact that only the grape was specified and not the brand or supplier, she bought cheaper options than what he'd asked for. The technicality about the grapes gave her a plausible cover story, but still, she made sure he didn't see the bottles until it was too late to do anything about it. She further gambled that as long as the wine was good and his guests enjoyed it, he wouldn't create a stink, because that would blow back on him. She needn't have worried. The arsehole didn't even know what he'd asked for. She did one turn with the mixed tray of red, white and rosé, then she let the guests help themselves. The guests enjoyed the wine and the food. At least 2 of them had pocketed one of the business cards she'd left by the centerpiece. She smiled and mentally celebrated achieving 2.4% and getting one over on Derek.